Feeling sorry for yourself is such a trap. Getting stuck in a place where you feel sorry for yourself, you feel stuck feeling bad about yourself, almost kind of like, poor me, nobody else understands how I feel. Nobody else understands my circumstances or what my life is really like. Just feeling stuck in self pity. This is like a type of mental quicksand that is really hard to get out of if you find yourself falling into that trap. Once you find a pattern of feeling like this too many days in a row, feeling sorry for yourself too many days in a row, it's not just like a switch that you can turn and just catapult yourself out of. It can take a minute. It is not easy. I'm Dr. Seth, psychologist, and this is a video that's a part of my series, How We Stay Stuck in Different Kinds of Dysfunction. There is a section of my YouTube channel here where I have a whole playlist on different ways that we can all get stuck in dysfunction, whether it's a dysfunctional relationship, a work situation, maybe a negative behavior pattern. This is a very human tendency, and it's why I say why we get stuck, because I mean this in the communal sense of we. There are human tendencies for us at times to get a little bit off track. And that is why with this video series, I want to try to help you gain a little insight into why it happens and also kind of how to get unstuck. All right. I have found in my clinical work over 20 years as a psychologist, there are a couple of different primary reasons why we stay stuck. One of those reasons is cognitive distortion, a clinical way to say that something in the thinking has gotten off track. And here's what happens in terms of cognitive distortion. A lot of times when a person starts feeling overly sorry for themselves, gets stuck in a sense of self-pity, what has happened is a magnification of thoughts, magnifying some sort of thought that you might have about a part of your life that you are unhappy with, that you dislike, maybe even a part of your life that you hate, and you feel like it won't change. Magnifying that, like imagine looking at something under a magnifying glass and it looks so much bigger. Well, in this sort of cognitive distortion, when you get stuck overthinking, over magnifying some part of your life that is off in some way, it makes complete sense intuitively. If you start feeling worse, if you start feeling maybe a little bit more depressed, or if you start feeling a little bit more anxious, you can get stuck in a sort of obsessive pattern, overthinking, over analyzing some part of your life that has gotten unhappy. So let's take a few examples just to kind of keep it concrete. Nobody needs any abstract ideas, right? We've had enough of that. What we need are answers, sort of concrete answers. How does this apply to your life? One example is, are you unhappy at work? Actually, scratch that. Let's go a step deeper. Are you actually miserable at work? Do you feel like you just can't deal with your boss anymore? Or maybe it's your coworkers. Maybe it's just the content of what you're doing. Sometimes people at work feel like, they should be doing more. They should be doing something that's better, that suits them better. Well, if you are unhappy at work, you can day after day start feeling that way so much that all of a sudden that unhappiness can sort of start to bleed out in other areas of your life. It sort of seeps into everything. And all of a sudden, you take that magnifying glass, right, under that microscope, and you start looking at your life and you feel like all of a sudden everything is bad. Everything makes you miserable, even though that's distorted. It's not actually true. So being unhappy at work is just one example. Another example could be in a relationship. Maybe you're in a relationship that makes you feel bad or where you feel like your needs aren't getting met. Well, again, you can, if you have too many days in a row where something in that relationship upsets you, you can start over magnifying that part of your life. And all of a sudden, you start to look through a lens at everything else in your life and feel like everything is broken, everything is out of control, even though it's not necessarily that way. Okay. So that's one main reason that I have found that people tend to get stuck in a pattern of feeling sorry for themselves is because of a root cognitive distortion, over magnifying one part of their life that's making them unhappy. That's one reason. The second reason is one that I think a lot of people, if they're really honest with themselves, will admit might be going on, and that's this one. We have two different ages, I believe. We all have a chronological age. If you look at your birth certificate, how old are you? That's your chronological age. And then we also have what I believe is our developmental age. Emotionally, our emotional developmental age, how old our real, true sense of self is, or in a given moment, how old we are acting, our thinking in a given moment, our thinking in a given situation, how old our emotional developmental age actually seems. Okay, let me just take a break for a second and give you guys an example. Think about when you have ever been in conversation with another adult and you feel like they're either quick tempered or they're saying something that you think is just nonsense. And they keep pushing and they keep pushing, and it's turning into like an argument of sorts. And haven't you ever wanted to say in some moments, are you 5 years old? You're acting like a 5 year old. Well, it's because we are not all perfect adults. It's also because we sometimes slip into behavior where our developmental emotional age doesn't match our chronological age. We slip into a sort of emotional immaturity. And I believe we slip into just like the little kid that lives inside of each one of us. So when life gets really, really hard, and when our psychological defenses are down and we don't feel as strong as we normally do, we don't feel like we have our mojo, we're on top of our game. Well, when those defenses are down, we can, each one of us, slip into just like that little kid. And you know what? That little kid wants things. So sometimes when a person slips into this rut of feeling sorry for themselves, getting stuck in a rut of self pity, dysfunctional self pity, it is because they are operating. They have slipped into a position where they are operating from a place of a developmental age that is much younger than how old they truly are. And that young child that they are operating from that position of, that young child often wants immediate gratification. That younger inner child often wants things to go their way. That inner younger child often doesn't want to accept reality, the harsh confines of reality that is everyday life, that is adult life, that we often simply don't get what we want, that things don't often happen in the way or in the time frame, that we want them to. Want, that is such an important word for people to understand. If you have gotten stuck in a rut of feeling sorry for you and your life circumstances, what might be happening is that you have gotten stuck focusing like a young child understandably would, a young child who doesn't know better, over focusing on what you want to happen now. It's actually very understandable because you're human. You're human and life is difficult and unpredictable and actually, in fact, erratic a lot of times and unfair. at times too. So it's completely normal. It is completely normal to have moments. If you have found yourself having moments where you feel sorry for yourself or you feel moments of self pity, and when you find yourself getting stuck in that rut, it's okay to say to yourself, you know what? I'm in the rut and I recognize that this is dysfunctional. It's dysfunctional and that it's not good for me. It's not serving me. And you know what? It's also, if you are in relationships with others, whether at home, in your personal life, or at work, if you are engaging in behavior that's not serving yourself, you're also not able to be available for others in good, positive ways. All right. I hope this helps. I hope understanding a little bit some of the mechanics, the why you might have gotten stuck in dysfunction is helping. Now, what to do about it? There is help. In fact, I have a whole part of my channel here on what to do about it. Skills and techniques that you can use to make things better. I'm Dr. Seth, psychologist.